Have you noticed that no matter how much work you do on fear, it always seems to come back? Maybe you've done energy healing sessions, maybe you meditate for hours on end, maybe you do breath work or somatic release, but no matter how much you do and no matter how much temporary relief you seem to find, those familiar feelings of fear, anxiety, and tension and contracted energy within the body seem to always return. And even more than that, when life gets really stressful, those addictive patterns and those behaviors of escapism can arise along with them. And it's not because you haven't tried hard enough, and it's definitely not because you're doomed to feel these feelings of fear and anxiety forever. The explanation is actually much simpler, but it's something that gets overlooked. And it's simply because a lot of these practices simply don't drill down to the depth where the roots of these fears, distortions, and anxieties, these feelings of anxieties, originally stem from. It's almost like they're hidden beneath the surface, and then all of these practices that we're trying just don't quite reach the level at where they're at. And it's simply because many of those practices may not be designed or they may not be being utilized to go that deep. You're just unaware of how deep they really are. And it's like cutting off weeds at the ground level. It may look clear for a while, but the roots are still underneath. And until you drill down and dig up the roots, the weeds will always grow back and they'll always return, needing to be cut once again. The deep fears, deep anxieties, and deep distortions that we carry, the deep beliefs, can work in a very similar way. And in over 7 years of studying, implementing, and drilling into the own core foundations of my deepest fears, beliefs, identity, and even karmic imprints that transcended lifetimes, I was able to discover why so many people's fears stay trapped and hidden in the darkness for so long, sometimes for decades or even their entire lives. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly why the fear always seems to return and how to drill into those deeper layers and discover where the roots are actually hidden. Hi, my name's Todd. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I like to talk about all things consciousness, non-duality, and the hidden mechanics of reality so you can be more empowered on your awakening journey. And if you're interested in those topics, hit the subscribe button so you can stay up to date with more new video releases I come out with and more resources and tools that I release. So what I want to cover in this video is how the physical experience, the human experience that our soul comes into to have the fully lived and fully believed and real experience of being a human being in this physical reality is multi-layered and multifaceted. And when you're watching this video, I want you to think about this through the lens of one of the Hermetic principles known as mentalism that suggests that all is mind and all that appears is made of mind. So if all is mind, then everything that we're experiencing can be potentially attributed to some sort of reflection of something within the mind that is projecting out into what we're perceiving or what our physical senses perceive as physical reality. And when I refer to mind, I'm definitely not just referring to the conscious mind, the conscious awareness, because the conscious, active, physical mind is the most superficial level of mind. And as we transcend deeper and deeper through the layers into our subconscious and unconscious mind and beneath the surface of conscious awareness, that is where we start finding the mechanics and the programs that are running our lives in the forms of beliefs, energy imprints, energy distortions, core fears that are actually within our energy field and being embodied even in the physical level, being embodied in the tissues, the muscles, the organs, and they're being embodied and reflected out in the physical experience. And this is why there could be certain patterns and looping, repeating, unwanted situations that continue to unfold in your daily waking life that no matter what you seem to do on the surface or what you seem to do in physical reality, they always return no matter how much you don't want to experience them. And in the context of what this video is about, that can only be because there is a deeper level of imprinting or deeper level of programming that is being reflected in the screen in front of us that looks like a physical reality. So if we're feeling these fears, if we're feeling anxiety, if we're feeling like certain unwanted situations that we're done with, we've had enough of, we're sick and tired of, if they keep appearing, keep looping, we need to go into a deeper level of mind. And this is why the fears can always come back. So think about a situation that you might be dealing with. It could be something as subtle as even social situations, where you enter certain social situations, and when you get into that situation, the anxiety arises. So you might enter a social interaction or social setting. Maybe it's a party or a group catch up, or even something larger like a meeting, a convention, something of that nature, or even just large crowds. And your logical mind knows that you're not under any threat at all. But your physical body, your nervous system, and your energy field immediately trigger into fight or flight response. So while you're trying to interact and communicate with people, and you logically know that you're not under any threat at all, your physical body is holding on to records and imprints that's telling you that this situation is a threat to your very survival. And it's triggering all of the fight or flight responses. It's triggering the adrenaline within your body because it wants you to take action. It wants you to flee or it wants you to fight because it actually is trying to perpetuate your survival. It actually believes that you being in this situation is a threat to your survival. And that's why situations like anxiety, social anxiety can be so frustrating, because on the surface, your conscious mind, you logically know that you're not under any threat, but your body is not letting you relax and not letting you enjoy a calm interaction in the way you want it to. This is unconscious beliefs and programming at different levels at play. And so to unwind this energy, to unwind these distortions, to unwind these feelings of fear, erratic anxiety, the nervous system going completely haywire, addictive patterns, and that fight or flight response, we need to start looking at the different layers of the energy field, the different layers of the subconscious and the different bodies, so we can truly get an understanding of where is the root and where is the core of this original fear. And simultaneously, we can also work on the physical level as well and the nervous system by engaging in various somatic practices. And so we really can engage in clearing practices on multiple levels at the same time. And as I already mentioned, these fears, these anxieties, and even these addictive behaviors are not you. At the core, when I talk about the core of who we really are, our true essence, our I am presence, our soul nature, if you've already come into contact with that nature of who you really are, if you've already been able to drop back, even just for a while, to the nature of your soul I am presence, you know that these are not you. It's just like mental activity, physical activity that's somehow taking place in your physical experience. These have actually nothing to do with the true you. They are fears and they are roots that are harbored within the energy field that your soul is coming into experience. And they are fears and they are roots that are potentially even anchored into the physical body as imprints themselves. And so the obvious question now should be, okay, well, where are these fears? Where are these imprints? Where are these distortions that are somehow affecting my physical experience so dramatically and somehow seem to be getting in the way of me being able to just rest in my I am presence and just be? They always seem to be drawing me out of that I am presence because they are just so difficult to deal with. And that's where the different level of bodies or the different level of mind or energy field, whichever way you want to look at it, that's where they come into play, because we have multiple different bodies or multiple layers to our energy field that the soul comes into to experience, like a prism of light, multi-layered prism of light. And just some of these have been described as the mental body, the emotional body, and the causal body, each representing a different layer of depth of our physical experience. And being able to penetrate into each of these layers and go deeper and deeper is going to be very beneficial to learn how to do, because it's going to get to the point where you can start pinpointing the root of fears, the root of distortions, and these programming imprints that are showing up in our day-to-day life in sometimes even vicious ways. And once you really start being able to open up the mind, open up into dropping into the deepest layers of mind, it's even going to get to the point where you start discovering fears that actually even transcend just this lifetime. And I go into this in deep, deep detail in my coaching program inside our private community of Inner Wealth Initiate. I go into these in deep, deep detail. There's an entire module of about 7 or 8 videos just covering the different layers of mind where all of these imprints can be stored and what type of imprints can be found within each, so we can have a really clear understanding of releasing them. But obviously I don't have the time to go into all of those in just this video, but I wanted to cover a few of the core layers here that you can see on the screen that really do seem to harbor the beliefs that can be much, much deeper than just the physical being. And so if you've ever engaged in spiritual practice or energy practice or somatic practice, and you've found temporary relief only to find that it circles back over and over again, it very well could be that you just haven't penetrated into the depth required yet to be able to discover and unearth the root of that imprint. And then practically, it's how do we reach the roots of each of these layers of mind? And one thing I really enjoy breaking down, and one thing our members really seem to resonate with and get a lot out of, is the fact that I seem to be able to break down these esoteric concepts into practical and applicable and very relatable practical ideas, concepts, and techniques that can actually help get real results. So the next question logically will be, well, how do I reach these roots? How do I actually penetrate through the layers of mind so I can start engaging with the correct depth, the depth I need to, and discover these fears and programs and distortions at the root? And to be able to give a general overview of a few of the powerful techniques you can use for the purpose of this video, I want to talk about a few of them that you can use and take away today that can start giving you immediate benefit. Now, before I go into those few techniques, it's very important to make clear that these layers of mind are intended to be included and worked with on a holistic basis. So I never want to teach these ideas treating one as separate from the other, because the general idea is that they all work in tandem, they all work in harmony. And so you could be working on a fear at the deepest layer of mind. You could be working on a fear at the causal layer of mind, and that could even look like a past life fear that's simultaneously manifesting in the nervous system or even simultaneously manifesting in muscle tissue that you discover when you get, say, for example, a deep tissue massage. You may notice that frequency is harbored in the nervous system and your muscle tissue when you're getting a deep tissue massage, but the core or the root of it is layered within the causal body. So very, very deep within the subconscious mind could be the original root or the original templated fear that transcends even this lifetime. But it could simultaneously, like I said, be housed within the physical body itself as an imprint. And so I want it to be clear that you can work, and it definitely is recommended that you work on multiple layers at the same time. But the purpose of this healing and the purpose of this discovery is to just make sure that you're very, very aware now that if you haven't found the root of it, it could just be that it's in the deeper level of mind. So potentially engaging in somatic exercise, potentially engaging in healing and clearing exercise at only the physical level may not be sufficient enough to be able to trigger the release or trigger the uncovering and full transmutation of that distortion, because it is housed at such a deeper level of mind. So I just wanted that to be clear, that this is to be worked in multi-layered, multifaceted, and all holistically together for the best results. And these energies and distortions and fears will unwind over time. So a few of the techniques that you can look into are deep states of regression. This is where you're going to be looking at past life regression. This is going to be where you're wanting to discover those most deeply seated, deeply rooted beliefs and distortions, those imprints that you chose at the soul level to experience in this lifetime, and those that are the most pervasive and usually the most persistent patterns and unwanted loops that we experience. So deep states of regression, meditation, entering the void is a meditation that I highly recommend for this layer of exploration. But the other thing is I don't want it to appear as I'm saying that it's very, very difficult to penetrate these layers. It's just that because they've been unknown previously, we haven't set the intention to look there. And just by even going into your next meditation and setting the intention of penetrating into the depths of that distortion is usually the best start at starting to uncover it, because our intention is extremely powerful. So deep states of regression, entering into deep meditation with past life regression is very useful for deep, deep uncovering of fears. Releasing energetic blocks through somatic practices like havening, somatic practices like vagus nerve stimulation, and looking into polyvagal theory and all of the practices around stimulating release of those imprints from the nervous system, release of those fear-based and survival-based imprints from the nervous system are extremely powerful as well. Again, all of these are combined. There's another practice I teach called the golden thread technique, where you can actually use a guided exercise to trace back to the core root like a golden thread. That's why I call it the golden thread technique, because it's like you're using a thread of belief or a thread of feeling to guide you all the way back to the genesis, the origination of where that fear is from. And very early on, many, many years ago now, in my own healing journey, I was actually able to use this to start discovering fears that were actually shown to me that were in different lifetimes, or what appeared to be past lifetimes. And what I've done for you, if you haven't seen it in other videos yet, is I've actually created a free step-by-step guide called Resistance Mapping. It's a 100% free gift, my gift to you, just for being here and just for watching this long in the video, that you'll find in the first line of the description box below, or even the pinned comment. You can download that right now completely for free. It's a 27-page guide, and it's going to start stepping you through how you can start mapping out these fears for yourself and start using the golden thread technique so you can get to the root of these fears. So click that link below if you want to download your copy now. And to finish off here, I just wanted to be very, very clear that healing doesn't have to be forever. It's not a life sentence. And the reason I know that for sure, and the reason you may know that for sure as well, is because it is not the core truth of who you really are. It is my firm belief that even though you chose at the soul level to come in and experience distortion, to come in and experience contrast, it is also my firm belief, if you're watching this video, that at some point in your lifetime, you also came in to experience your true essence in physical form, to experience the reflection in the physical of who you really are as the soul core essence, as your core soul vibrational signature. Thanks for watching.